So if anyone is still sitting outside or sitting in the booths, please come in. We're going to start with an opening remarks from Saeed, my father. I run our food and beverage program, and I'm really excited about today. This is our second batch, and we've come a long way since our first batch that started in February. Please, if you have any comments or you have any ideas on how I can make it improve, let me know, and I'd be happy to hear all of your opinions. So I'd like to invite up Saeed Amini.
Thank you, Sina. As you can tell, we both like food. Hopefully, this year we will have less fattening food and less sugar. And by next year, this time, you will see a new Sina and new Saeed on the stage. Specifically for Sina is very important because how many of you know he just got engaged about a couple of months ago? And you know, we have a sort of a plan that we both will look good in the wedding in September. You're all welcome. No, but like all of the other verticals we have, we would love to perform in this food and beverage one to become the best innovation platform in the world. And generally, like I know that we have a number of food companies in the audience, like Bimbo and Nestle, Tyson Food, PepsiCo, etc. And the whole food industry and the beverage industry is going toward being more healthy and less sugar, less fat. And also they want to be more sustainable in their production, in their packaging, and in their recycling product. You know, I just want to kind of share with you my daughter, who is Sophie, she's 18, and the rest of young generation, when you ask them what they like in life, what is their life purpose, it's 70% they say we need a better environment, better health, sort of life with a purpose. Then they say, oh, of course, we also want to make money, we want to do a startup or join other corporation. So that is why, quite frankly, Plug and Play, we are a little bit also going that direction. We would like to have a sustainable energy division here, which we launched. And I just wanted to welcome PepsiCo as our corporate partner in the food section, because they have a new initiative called Performance with Purpose. So it has a bunch of different pillars. That one is less sugary drinks and healthier drinks. Two, how they can build not only their own internal talent, but even external talent, going to better farming, better raw material suppliers. And just as a whole, they also want to do a lot of investment in packaging and more sustainable packaging. And I believe right now some of the companies that come to my mind, like Unilever and IKEA, it is no more like a choice of being more sustainable or more environmentally friendly. I think the young generation demands it. And I think it's a good business to do that. And with that, I would love to welcome Chris from PepsiCo to come on stage to get the award and perhaps share with us some of the PepsiCo's activity in our food division, in our supply chain division, and packaging. Please, welcome.
All right.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Picture.
Picture.
I like pictures. No. You know, because he's very good. We have a deal going that he makes me look thinner in all the pictures.
So Saeed, Sina, Michael, Farzeen, Omer, we've worked with so many different groups, so many different verticals here. We really find that plug and play is a tremendous unlock for PepsiCo. I lead up our external innovation group, sitting within our global R&D function. And part of our remit is to really get out there and see new technologies, find new companies, find things that are going to disrupt our industry, as well as things that can complement our existing operations. And when we do that, we've got a fantastic team. We've got some of my colleagues here today with me. We've got other folks that are placed throughout the globe looking. But really, the unique reach that Plug and Play has here and the efforts that they've undertaken to really develop that ecosystem, develop that network, have made us just that much more successful. As Saeed mentioned, we've got a performance with purpose agenda. It's actually the second generation of it. We set some very ambitious goals around the planet. And so that's related to packaging, greenhouse gas emissions, around our products, so how are we reducing sugar, sodium, saturated fat, as well as around talent and people. And so everything from within our organization to outside of our organization, everyone downstream and upstream of us, just to make it an overall better business with positive impacts to everyone. So just want to kind of close out here with, what we've done here has been a real hand-in-hand collaboration. Food and beverage is a very, very new vertical. We've learned a lot along the way. I think we've brought some knowledge to the table, but we've learned a tremendous amount from Plug and Play and the other corporate partners. A very unique aspect of what we have set up here and what Plug and Play has established is the full value chain. And so we're able to work with some of our current suppliers, I see them sitting in the audience, as well as other folks that are doing ingredients, that are doing packaging, that are doing processing. All of these things are absolutely critical to our business, and it's fantastic to be able to look at these new emerging startups, fantastic technologies, fantastic businesses, with all the right folks to make the decision. So with that, just like to say thank you to the Plug and Play group and really appreciate the award.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. You know, quite frankly, exactly like Chris mentioned, I want to use the Mercedes example over again. Mercedes cannot put any technology inside any cars. I think the main product that Mercedes makes is the chassis, the engine, and the design. Everything else is supplied to them by tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, etc. And I believe even for PepsiCo, Nestle, Tyson Food, if we have the whole value chain here, from transportation to production to growing better products in the farms, I think that's when we will be able to be, very innovative and implement fast. And that is really why we have today's expo and so on, that we have food and beverage together with packaging and materials. And also we really try to go all the way to the store and consumer. I don't know, and we like to innovate in product, but similar to the Dollar Shave Club that really innovated in direct delivery, and I believe finally Gillette bought it for $1 billion. Sometimes you can innovate in delivering product to the consumer or a business model. One of my friend Amy has a hair color company that is in the Bay Area, and in a matter of 2 years, she delivers to once a month the hair color, mostly for ladies, but also for men, and it has gone to $35 million revenue with 70% margins. And so the whole idea is how you build a new business model, how do you satisfy the customer. And our keynote speaker, Skyler, is one of my good friends. We've been co-investing together for about 5 years. Originally, he was with Simon Properties, one of the largest shopping center owners in the world. And as retail is going through a challenge, we were trying to find what is the future of retail. Now he is with the group in around Chicago area that has a background with McDonald's, and we feel no matter what kind of food retail, shopping center retail, no matter what area of brand and retail you are in, it's going through incredible transformation. So please join me to welcome Skylar, who will be our keynote right now. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Saeed. Hey, everybody. So I'm excited to talk to you guys today about the future of retail. And to kick things off, the future of retail is omni-channel retailing. Now, if I was in the audience and someone came up and started saying that, I'd be really bored, because that's what most people usually talk about when they talk about the future of retail. It's been discussed over the past 5-10 years that is the future of retail. And what I'd like to use this talk to talk about is really not that omni-channel is the future of retail, but what really is after omni-channel retailing. It's one of the questions I talk a lot about when I'm moderating or on panels, and I always find that even the best experts in retail have a hard time answering this question. They can talk for a long time about omni-channel retailing, but they can't ask what actually is after omni-channel. And one of the best excuses I hear from large executives in retail is that big retailers haven't even accomplished omni-channel yet, let alone should we start thinking about what's beyond omni-channel. But I think there's a lot of reasons why we should be thinking about that. The other question I want to talk about is how can large retailers really redefine themselves in who they are to become bigger than themselves? I think a lot of the challenges of retail right now is that retailers are so stuck thinking about themselves as a particular brand or kind of selling a particular product that they've had for so long that they can't figure out how to be bigger than what they actually are, and that's holding them back compared to some of the most innovative companies who have been able to think past that. And if you can become greater than yourself, what are the advantages? One of the advantages is that you can gain additional mind share and additional touch points by being bigger than yourself, and that equals more money. So to give a quick background, as Saeed said, about 3-4 years ago, I founded Simon Venture Group. It's the corporate venture arm of Simon Property Group. It was ranked by CB Insights as one of the top 5 retail-focused funds, corporate VCs, alongside Google Ventures, Intel Capital, and Comcast Ventures. And for background, so Simon, S&P 100 company, it's quite large, and the largest retail real estate company in the world. So they own the majority of malls, outlets, shopping centers. They are the clear world leader. And when I first joined Simon in 2014 to launch the fund, Simon, if you looked at the US, North America, US retail sales, it was larger than Amazon and Apple US online combined. It's massive. When I left earlier this year, so I launched a brand new fund in May, but at the end of this, at the beginning of 2017, when I left, that had flipped. Amazon and Apple, their US online sales are now larger than Simon. So we are at a very interesting point in history where e-commerce kind of battling with physical retail, there's that shift that is certainly starting to happen where the big players are switching, where the majority of sales are starting to come from. And the safety at the top really isn't there for a lot of big companies. I think I'm looking up interesting stats of what is the average life of a company in an S&P 500, and some interesting stats I found. So in 1965, the average tenure on an S&P 500 company was 33 years. It's a pretty good, it's a whole career that you could build there. Going down to 1990, it was only about 20 years that you could maintain an S&P 500 position. And the forecast is that by 2026, only about 14 years on the average life of a company, and that over the next 10 years, about 50% of the S&P 500 will churn. So this is staggering. This is showing that more than ever, in order to maintain your leadership, you're going to have to start doing things differently. So the question is, can a company really live at the top forever? And maybe one of the ways is that you truly have to keep on innovating what you are. If you stay what you are forever, you're probably no longer going to be the leader in that space. So the time has never been greater to be innovating. And we've certainly had the rise of industry-focused accelerators that give plug and play with what Saeed's doing the most credit for being clearly the biggest accelerator in the world, but also the one that's really industry-focused, helping key industry players trying to innovate the industries they're in. You have incubators, you have corporate VCs, business development R&D, creating of new business units, and M&A. All of this going into how do we become something bigger than what we started as so we can be here in the future. When I created Simon Venture Group, a large part of my focus was fashion. I was one of the leaders in investing in the fashion and retail space, investing in retail brands, retail technology. And what I saw just even the past 3 years is a lot of the spaces within malls were being filled not by other apparel brands, but are really starting to be filled by restaurant concepts, food and beverage concepts, in the exact same place that apparel was. And if we think about where retail's really going, it really is a much broader perspective. I kind of call it the 3 Fs: food, fashion, and fun. And if you are in just one of these circles, as we'll kind of see through this talk, you should highly think about how you can be one of the other 2 circles as well. Because the future seems to be going the direction where you will be the combination of all 3 likely over time if you're going to continue to get mind share and kind of get access to new markets. Recently, so in May, I launched Cleveland Avenue. So Cleveland Avenue is a $150 million fund, co-founded with the former CEO of McDonald's, Don Thompson. We are investing in food and beverage brands, food and beverage technology, as well as restaurants. We put together a pretty impressive team, about 42 people. On the investments team, we have 3 people that are making investments from seed stage through growth stage. We have about 15 to 20 people that are doing consulting for some of the biggest corporations in the world, some of them including large mall operators, large department stores, helping to rethink how are they thinking about food and beverage in their space. We also have a accelerator, kind of incubator space for a lot of companies to work out of. And our first floor in Chicago is an incubator for new restaurant concepts. So we can take something like a Chipotle and create the future Chipotle concept there and test it either in a private or public setting. So kind of moving things forward onto hopefully bringing some new perspectives that usually aren't talked about in the future of retail is that I think that the truth is oftentimes truly an untold story. And for a long time, we've been hearing that the mall is dead. It's a very old cliche. Hasn't happened, probably will never happen, but there probably will be less malls in the future if you look at pretty much all the estimates. But I would like to create a new cliche with you today, which is that e-commerce is dead. And if we look at kind of side by side the business models between e-commerce and in-store, you look at conversion rates, 2 to 3% of conversion online versus 20 to 30% if you walk into a store. If you look at basket size, way more basket size in a store, usually spending about 1.5 to 3 times more versus hyper-targeted approach online. Cost of traffic, you're typically paying rent if you're in a physical store. The cost of that monthly rent versus Google AdWords or Facebook AdWords. If you are going into advertising online for the first time, you'll quickly learn that it's quite expensive to get a CAC that quite works and then bringing that number down. But you will find oftentimes the traffic that's literally walking by your door is cheaper than what you might be competing for the exact same words like black dress on Google. And then product returns, right? You have huge product return rates up to 20 to 40% for e-commerce and much lower in store because you can touch it, feel it, try it on before. So you ask yourself, when you compare these 2 business models, why would anyone do e-commerce? Like this looks completely dumb to think, why would I do one versus the other? It sounds e-commerce is low cost, easy to get going, but the margins are much, much lower on e-commerce overall compared to physical retail where you can still actually get decent profits. And when you compare the fact that e-commerce sites in general have a terrible track record of about 65% of them failing in 18 months and about 90% of them failing in 5 years. So it makes you completely question e-commerce versus in-store. And so I would say, the death of e-commerce is probably easier to say the death of pure play e-commerce, right? That if you're only doing that, because again, the experts say that the future is omni-channel retailing. You have to do both. And executives in retail love to use this equation of 1 + 1 = 3. If the math doesn't make any sense, it has to be genius. If you're combining online and physical store, you're getting some type of a net benefit where the sum is bigger than its parts. And we look at, is the future really omni-channel? If we look at Harvard Business Review study earlier this year, they did a study about 46,000 participants. And they found something that was pretty obvious, which is that 70+% of us are omni-channel shoppers. Only about 7% of us are online only. 20% are in-store only. You can probably think the age demographic probably lines up pretty nicely with some of these. But the vast majority of us are omni-channel. And if we look at what are the value of omni-channel customers, omni-channel shoppers spend a lot more money. So if a shopper uses 2 channels, online and offline, they'll usually spend 4% more or 10% more online versus someone who's a single channel. And if you look at customers that use more than just 2 channels, but 4 channels, it's even more. They spend 9% more in store than a single channel customer. So omni-channel customers definitely spend more, so you have an incentive to focus on getting those as customers. Omni-channel customers are also more loyal. So in general, they usually are higher at repeat shopping. They're also more likely to repeat what they're doing and recommend what they're doing with their friends and family. So a lot of reasons for why omni-channel shoppers should be the ones you're going after. But the whole term of omni-channel and really what is a sale is confusing, because if you look at a traditional register versus the new register of like an iPad, is one an in-store sale and the other one an online sale? Because maybe on the right there, maybe they don't have any inventory. Maybe you're in there viewing things, but you're not taking it with you. Is that an in-store sale or an online sale? Or another example, if you're on your couch, you order something online that gets delivered from a local shop to your house, or you order online and then you go and pick it up. Is that an online sale or an in-store sale? What you find is that line is blurring more and more and more. And I even wonder, does it even matter? Who cares if it's an online sale or an in-store sale? Some people that work at, if you're just in the online division of your company or the in-store division, maybe you care, because maybe that's where your bonus is coming from. But it's all going to the same pot, right? The same company is where the dollars are all flowing to. If we think about mobile commerce, it really is the thing that's taking over e-commerce. Mobile is becoming a bigger and bigger percent of e-commerce sales. And if you think of it this way, mobile commerce is really eating e-commerce's lunch. And the great thing about mobile commerce, you could say that almost the future of e-commerce is mobile commerce. But mobile commerce is local. And the great thing about local is that's great for physical stores. And when you look at the stats, about 80% of our purchases are still done within a 20-mile radius of where we live. So we very much live in a localized economy of where we're spending our disposable income. It just hasn't completely been modernized yet for localized mobile commerce. So you can go back to this slide. So I don't think it's really true that the future of retail is omni-channel. Retail is omni-channel now. It's no longer the future. The future truly is now. But I think we should think that this whole equation before of 1 + 1 = 3, that's not working, because there's still a bunch of retailers that are going bankrupt even with this bad math. So I think we need to come up with even worse math where 1 + 1 = like 4, 5, or 6. And that's kind of where I want to go into how does we actually get to a place that is what is after omni-channel retailing. So even just this year, 2017, we've already had 20+ retailers that have gone bankrupt. Toys R Us, Limited, BCBG, a whole bunch of well-known names and more. We got Walmart starting to do acquisitions, so they've built up a lot of cash over the years, haven't done huge acquisitions in the past, but we got Jet, obviously, $3.3 billion, acquiring Bonobos for $300 million, ModCloth. But Walmart is now saying we need to be a lot more than just the biggest physical retail store, and we need to be even bigger than just Walmart.com. We need to figure out how we can move beyond even selling things where products are like Bonobos. You go into a guide shop of Bonobos and there's no inventory. You literally walk in, you try things on, and you walk out after you buy something and it's shipped to you. They have no inventory. So Walmart acquired them. They brought them on a team to start thinking in a whole new way of how they can be a retailer. Amazon going the opposite direction, where Walmart's going more online. Amazon's going physical, right? Buying Whole Foods. And a fantastic acquisition, right, where they announced that they're going to purchase Whole Foods, and the share price of Amazon increases by $13 billion. So they basically bought Whole Foods for free. It's a fantastic deal. So the idea that Amazon's now going to have physical locations to start distributing grocery, it's not that far to believe that Amazon might acquire a department store in the future and start taking on more physical retail there for distribution. If you know, also the big questions coming up now is, do you decide to collaborate or compete with Amazon? A lot of the biggest brands have said, oh, we're never going to be on Amazon. And then they are. So CEO of Gap was famous for saying that, and then he was on Amazon. A lot of really high luxury brands for a long time said they were not going to be on Amazon, and now they are. And it all goes down to revenues. Where is volume actually coming from? Probably the most interesting news that happened, I guess, a month or so ago is Kohl's now accepting Amazon returns, right? You can literally bring things to Kohl's that you purchase on Amazon that are not sold at Kohl's, and you can return them. First of the big department stores to go down this path of a true partnership with Amazon, and quite interesting of where that might be for the future of Amazon and Kohl's. And you have companies like Happy Returns, where you can take any online-only retailer and you can deliver it to a mall as a central point of returning something. So rather than going to the post office, you can go to the local mall, deliver what you purchased online, and have it sent back. So clearly, e-commerce brands are going physical brands are going to digital. None of this is all that new. So let's get into the core question here of what is after omni-channel retailing. And I want to do a quick review of history of commerce, because I think it helps put things into perspective. If we think of an XY axis graph, I hope you guys like graphs, this is a fun one. If we think about product and channel, kind of way back in the olden days of even cavemen, of exchanging apples for bananas, you had a physical product and a physical channel. That's how commerce happened for a very long time. You then had the rise of like insurance and taxes and currency, but you essentially had a digital asset that was still being sold through a physical channel. You had the rise of the internet. That was a game changer. So you could sell anything, any physical product over a digital channel now. Then you had the rise of social media, social commerce, SaaS, software as a service. You have a non-physical channel and a non-physical product being sold. Also fits into virtual goods, virtual reality. So you're all out of boxes space. Like, how else do you evolve commerce when all 4 boxes are filled in? Oh, the middle. That's how we do it, right? We do it with the rise of Internet of Things, the rise of omni-channel. Is that combination of a physical, non-physical product, a physical, non-physical channel. That is where we are today. And with each of these boxes, as they evolved, multi-billion-dollar companies were created in every one of these boxes, and venture capitalists along the way also followed as these were developing. So over the next, call it 5 to 10 years, many billion-dollar companies are probably going to be created in 3D printing, artificial intelligence, automotive technologies. Okay, now we filled in the middle. How do you evolve this even further? How do we get past this whole omni-channel retailing? And so what's next? There's literally no more boxes to put stuff. We did like the sneaky one. We put one in the middle. So how else do we go past this? Is there any other dimension of retail that we can think about? And so I put forth 2 new ways of thinking about retail beyond omnichannel, which is what I'm calling the 3rd and 4th dimension of retail, which is the concept of space and time. It's a little bit of a nerdy answer. My background's in physics, but it's quite applicable. When you think about space, it's all about how do you use space differently, both physical space differently, of putting stores inside of stores or retailers leasing retail space, or having a place with no inventory where you're shipping from a warehouse, or maybe you're 3D printing on site. And time is all about flow, the feeling of the experience, where you can either speed up time, slow down time. And again, space and time have nothing to do with this whole online, offline thing. It's a whole new kind of perception of how you're thinking about providing an experience for your consumer. I think a great new example of this, a handful of weeks ago, Nordstrom just announced Nordstrom Local. So Nordstrom Local is a small version of a Nordstrom. It's only about 3,000 square feet compared to the 140,000 square feet. So they're already thinking about using space differently. They're also offering a cafe where you can have kind of beer, wine, and espresso. And most notably, they have no inventory inside of this Nordstrom. And they're having a few of these being built out and tested. Now Nordstrom can go in places that a Nordstrom normally could never go because the market size maybe wasn't there to support it. So they can start doing lots of these little Nordstrom locals instead. Much more highly curated, much more about the overall experience than hitting you with tons and tons of clothes that you'll buy there. Another interesting thing is looking at how retail is really becoming a merger between fashion, food, and entertainment. So if we look at on the left there, cafe, Cleveland Avenue worked with American Eagle to develop this thing called Drink in Times Square. So a lot of times, Times Square is a hotbed for tourists that might not even be familiar with American Eagle. And Drink is a development concept of beverages that you can try, all non-alcoholic, but look like they're beer handles to drink. So providing, again, a unique food experience to an apparel brand like American Eagle. The middle photo is Restoration Hardware, right? They're having huge success with this, where you can be having coffee while you're sitting on the couch that you might buy. And they're having some of the highest sales of Restoration Hardware in any of the stores they've had. And then most recently, we have Eddie Bauer, I think in the past 2 weeks, made the announcement of an Eddie Bauer's apparel place with winter clothing. You can go inside of a box that has a big ice seat. It's an ice box where you can literally be freezing while you're trying on their clothes and maybe have like a hot chocolate. So a whole new experience for shopping with Eddie Bauer. And we look at some of the macro trends, like the economy is pretty good, right? We've had a pretty good long run now of GDP growth for the past 8 years. Gas prices are low unemployment, wages growing for even the low and middle class. Like, what could possibly be terrible about shopping right now? Yet physical retailers are struggling. And so you have certainly the rise of e-commerce, you have the rise of Amazon, and you have the rise of direct-to-consumer brands, things that people never thought would buy online, like a mattress, something you have to touch and feel and maybe even lay on for a little bit before you buy it, is having huge success with direct-to-consumer online sales. You also have the oversupply of malls, right? So in the past, from like time period of like 1970 to 2015, the rate of growing new malls was growing double than the speed of the population of the United States. So we literally overbuilt malls. And to the point now where traffic is slowing, not necessarily because of e-commerce. I don't think retailers can blame Jeff Bezos for them not doing so well right now. There's a macro trends behind this beyond just e-commerce. And in the experience, you think about where the trend is going is that people are looking to be less materialistic, and they're looking for experiences, either entertainment, food and beverage. They're not looking to own everything they have. Actually, it was interesting, the stat here was in 2016, it was the first time ever that Americans spent more money in restaurants and bars than they spent in grocery. It's pretty interesting. And so I think a good example of this is a company called Le Tote. If you guys are familiar with Le Tote, it's a women's apparel subscription company where you can rent everyday clothes for women, similar to Rent the Runway, but for everyday clothes. Last year, Le Tote rented over $500 million of clothes. This year, Le Tote is on track to rent over $1 billion of clothes. Following years will be multi-billions. And again, this is part of a trend that women are thinking, I don't need to own absolutely everything in my closet. This is part of the shared economy. So you had the rise of Uber, you had the rise of Airbnb, so you had transportation, hotel, you have the shared economy now for clothes. I'm interested in figuring out what is going to be the shared economy solution for food. Is there going to be some type of restaurant chain where you can literally share food with strangers? How else can you create a shared economy of food? But there'll be some disruption of shared economy within food, and I'm excited to figure out what that company is so I can invest in it. And then the second question I had was, how does a company redefine itself to truly become something bigger than it is? If we look at Amazon from their original website from 1994, Amazon started selling books. Amazon still sells books, but it does a lot more than selling books. Just like Google is still a search engine, but a lot more than a search engine. And if we look at what Amazon has developed, we have the marketplace, we got the Prime subscription, we got Fulfillment Center, we got Amazon Studios with content, which probably in the next year or two will be spending more on content than Netflix does. We got Amazon Alexa, Amazon Web Services. What's interesting about how Amazon evolved is they completely separated themselves from an identity of being an e-commerce platform. They said, nah, we're not an e-commerce platform. We're a company that's going to make a lot of money and keep reinvesting in itself. And the first things it did, it said, what are our biggest cost of goods? It's like, we're an e-commerce company. We use a lot of servers. Let's become a server business. And we use a lot of warehouses. Let's become a warehouse business. So they removed a lot of their main cogs by turning those into revenue businesses and reinventing themselves. And I think Amazon's put together a good blueprint for how does one become bigger than themselves and redefining what they are. They're doing the basics, which most big executives, big companies do relatively well, which is just focus on increasing revenues, focus on increasing margins, business development all day long. And this will only get you so far until things start not going in your favor. Amazon's doing this quite well with private labeling products, what they call Amazon Basics. So they just acquired a 3D body scanning company, and they also acquired a company that can custom cut fabrics to make clothes on demand. So they'll have no inventory for clothes. You order what you want, you put in your measurements, comes out and shipped to you. All about having private label brands with higher margins, better for themselves. Everyone else that's selling on Amazon will become the second-rate option compared to what Amazon now does. Example actually with that is on like Alexa. If you were to order batteries on Alexa, you say, Alexa, order me some batteries. Her first option is Amazon's basic batteries. She doesn't tell you Duracell exists, right? It's a verbal option that you get. You say, I don't want the Amazon option. Then she'll tell you about Duracell and all the other brands. It's showing that with growth of where Amazon's going, the value of brand is being diminished. And all that matters to the consumer is a great product at a great price. Brand really is a second option there. Then they have a corporate VC. They have the Alexa fund. Amazon's unique actually in the sense it's one of the few really large corporations that doesn't have a corporate VC across Amazon. The only corporate VC they have is what is called the Alexa fund, specifically focused on Alexa for investing and creating an ecosystem around her, knowing that it's an infant market that they're going to have to develop. They're also very active at creating new business units and doing some key M&A like the acquisition of Whole Foods, getting them into completely new and expanded markets. And Amazon has completely perfected the ability of getting into these new additional mind shares and touch points for the consumer where you are living in Amazon world. And Google has done the same thing of having you live in a Google world. And brands need to start thinking this way as well of how do you become a world for your consumer that goes way above and beyond just buying the one product that you sell. And then lastly, reinventing yourself through cash by investing most of your cash back into your business to grow it rather than hoarding all that cash or sending it all back with dividends. And if you think in companies like Apple, I think there's a decent argument to think that Apple's probably the least innovative company that exists, right? And one of the most cash on the balance sheet than almost any company that's ever been created. That's basically an admission that you have no idea what to do with all that money. You have no big vision of how to innovate the company even further. And so the admission is going to be you either keep the money there or you send it back as dividends because you don't know else how to become bigger than yourself. Amazon doesn't have that problem. So I have two predictions. One of these I've never said out loud, so you guys will be the first time sharing it. Two predictions of where Amazon might go in creating a concept of like a Prime Plus, providing a lot more than just free shipping. So one possibility is that they could offer free or heavily discounted basics for everybody. So if you were paying, call it $200 a year versus $100 a year, and Amazon will just provide you all of the toilet paper that you need for the entire year, all the shampoo you need for the entire year, target products that have hugely high margins, and just look at it as a cost to acquire a customer and a cost to maintain a customer, knowing that Prime subscribers are so much more valuable that they spend more money with you than non-Prime subscribers, that you essentially are giving them their basic essentials for the entire year. The way I came up with this initial idea, I was talking to someone about universal basic income, which is a touchy subject, but I was thinking rather than taxpayers paying for it, big industries essentially could provide a universal basic income form if all of your essentials are essentially recovered by something like this. Second idea I think is a lot more even more realistic and immediate that Amazon could do, which is it could start sending curated boxes to people that didn't even order the things in the box. They literally just look at what your history is of everything it thinks you've been buying, and it's going to send you a box with that stuff. You decide if you want to keep any of it. If you want to keep it, keep it. If you want to send it back, send it back. But immediately, Amazon per user would probably double its revenues per user and may become the first trillion-dollar company. I think it's quite simple for them to do given the data they have, and I think consumers are ready to start receiving random boxes with stuff that they might actually want. And here's like a fun historical photo. So this is the first ever mall, at least recorded on Wikipedia history, 127 years ago. So in 1890, it opened in Cleveland, Ohio, called the Arcade. And what I loved about this photo is it looks exactly like malls do today. Nothing's changed. And you look at what Amazon's done from moving away from just being an online marketplace. Malls were the first physical marketplace for products. Google has done a lot better moving away from just being a search engine. they have yet to figure out how to be bigger than themselves. So I, again, pose this question: how do malls and retailers redefine what they are? And so one of the questions is, like, maybe just add technology. Like, let's just add technology for counting traffic and doing beacon marketing and robotics. Maybe we add some VR in a mall. And like, you can add technology all day long, but you're pretty much only going to be optimizing your business. Maybe you're helping to increase revenues a little bit, maybe getting better margins, but you're not doing a step function to really innovate a mall. Maybe we could launch an e-commerce platform, or we could, if we're an e-commerce brand, we could open up stores. Well, again, they're just adding sales channels. It's important to add more sales channels and make more money, but it doesn't really change what you are. So again, how do you think about being greater than yourself? Malls need to figure out how to be more than retail real estate companies, and retailers need to be more than just selling products. So if you think of, if you're just leasing space, how do you go from just leasing space to being a producer of the product to then also being the one selling the product? A good example of this is like Latote. When Latote is using all of their data to make clothes that they're renting to women, now it's about 45% of Latote's inventory is their own private labeled brand. And when we first invested in that company, it was about 10% of their inventory was private labeled. They're now making their own brands that women love. And a lot of the malls could start making their own brand, just like Saks Fifth Avenue has their own apparel brand. But they think of themselves so much as real estate companies that it would be hard to think of them actually making their own brand. But Amazon would. Amazon would use all that data analytics and is making their own brands. Again, different perspective of thinking about redefining themselves. I think eating's a big one. More food. I think more and more people are going to the malls to eat. So I think we're going to see more and more grocery, restaurants, food and beverage concepts at malls, and are filling the spaces of where once retailers stood. We're going to be living there more. I think you're already seeing this in China, where you can develop economies with a lot more of a head start of figuring out how society actually evolves. But a place where you're not just shopping, but a truly place where it's residential real estate of apartments and hotels. It will also be a place that you're working with commercial real estate, with office buildings, and play with entertainment and experience. So literally be where the mall was once to be the center of the community, the mall has to become literally the community for having a purpose and using their real estate in the most way possible. So here's a fun question. Kind of end off on a fun one. What's possibly bigger than Amazon? Because it's like, that's going to be the first trillion-dollar company. What's possibly bigger than Amazon? That would be a good question to think about. And so I think if Amazon is the everything store, how are you bigger than everything? And I was thinking, well, maybe the everywhere store, if you could think, and maybe that's where Amazon's going, is either the future Amazon of what Amazon will become, or a new company that we haven't even heard of yet, but maybe some VCs are looking at backing, will be the next Amazon, which will be the everywhere store versus the everything store. And why will this be bigger? If you could think of not just e-commerce, but imagine if every single POS system was connected to every other POS system, and every single inventory management system in a warehouse was all centralized. So every single physical address was part of a central e-commerce platform. It was localized, centralized, search for a black dress or food within a 2-mile radius of where you live, and it could be delivered there, or you could go pick it up. Still, we have vast majority of retail is happening physically, not digitally. It's only about 20% of total retail sales are online. If a company could do this, they'd be multiple times bigger than Amazon. So I leave that with you. Thank you, and I'll open up for some questions.
Okay. Do you think that everything store can be an everywhere store?
Say that one more time.
Do you think that everything store can be an everywhere store?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know about you guys, but I learned so much from Skylar. Any other question, guys? There is one there, please.
Okay, to your last point, to make that work, you actually have to know where everything is. And that's one of the big challenges that retailers like Macy's, et cetera, have to become an online order place from their retail. So other than RFID, which is my space, do you have any other avenues to actually knowing where everything is?
Sure. Yeah, great question. I think the key thing where a lot of retailers have struggled is exactly that. They have yet to actually centralize their own inventory. And especially if you look at like for outlets, on the outlet side, it's even worse. They're like the second children that never got as much love. So you really don't have much inventory knowledge as much on outlets as you do traditional retail. So you're going to have technology that has to be developed for syncing all different types of POS systems with one, right? And there are companies that are working on just making all sense, kind of normalizing the data across multiple POS systems. I think real-time inventory is an interesting one because it definitely, it's only so accurate when you're just dealing with POS systems. I think you're right, RFID I think helps you get to that next level. The challenge with like a Macy's or a Nordstrom is that you have multiple brands that you have to be working with simultaneously. So things like RFID will probably be adopted first by single branded stores where you don't have to have that coordination of multiple brands being sent to a central location. But I think the real-time inventory side, I don't think it has to be 100% accurate to be able to make the everywhere store work. I think if you can start bringing even like to 50 to 75% range, which I think we're not that far off from essentially being able to do that even now, I think you start being able to allow consumers to have an experience that they've never had before, to truly be able to search within a 2-mile radius of where they live about products that they're looking for. And Google could certainly prioritize that if it's local to you, it's higher in the search engine than if it's in a warehouse somewhere. So I think consumers have never really had that localized e-commerce experience. And that's why it's so intriguing for someone to really develop something like that.
And if I can use an example, I think there is a mom group in San Mateo that shares children's clothing because apparently children grow up really fast. Like my daughter had tens of like dress that she had never worn, but now this mom's sharing children's clothing, it's huge. And it's all within 2-mile, 3-mile radius.
Love that.
Yeah. Any other question? Please.
So we're talking about the whole model and the operation is based out of the US. So how would this model take shape if we were to take it to a heavily populated or to the Asian market? And how can it be modified to make it more appealing to some of the consumers in that market space?
Sure. Well, I think you have the benefit of a lot of these new economies that are quite developed, where they can be planning a lot more in advance. I think one of the challenges with retailers in the United States is they have so much relic technology and relic processes. If you can literally start from scratch in how you're developing things, I think you have a much bigger advantage. You look at even how Amazon's grocery store, their own, where you can go in, no checkout, just walk out of the store. Everything there works with an RFID play and was built from the beginning to be like that. So I think mainly the ability to pre-advance plan for things like that will help kind of future, any kind of societies overall develop in that way. I think over the technology, for the most part, already exists. It really becomes more of not having to work with so much historical stuff that you've been dealing with.
Great. Thank you so much, Simon. Really appreciate it. I want to use the opportunity that, sometimes we do so much mumbo jumbo here. Some people don't even know what is the real reason. First, hands for Simon, everybody. Woo! I was going to keep you up here, but I let you go this time, Simon. Skylar. But if I can tell you, the main reason why we have this food innovation platform is to find the Uber or the Airbnb of this industry. So if I can tell you a little bit of a history, we started investing as an angel about 25 years ago. We invested under the brand Amidzad in 65 little startups. One of them happened to be Dropbox, one of them PayPal, one of them Lending Club. And if you add all of the money we invested over 7, 8 years, it ended up to be about $8.5 million. And we were lucky enough to have 20x return on that investment. And that's why I said if in Palo Alto on University Avenue, we kind of come across some startups, some entrepreneurs like Peter Thiel and Renaud from Lending Club, and we could have such a investment result. Or I love always the Dropbox story. We run into Arash and Drew Houston at one of these events. It was a pitching session by Y Combinator. And then because Arash was Iranian, we invited him and Drew to a kebab party on Saturday. And then we really liked them, so we showed them to Sequoia on Sunday, and we invested in them on Monday at $4 million valuation. And when Dropbox reached $4 billion in valuation, I thought we did good enough, so we exited most of our interest at 1,000x. But the main reason we do this and why I wanted to use Skylar's comment is we feel if we do due diligence on a startup together with PepsiCo and with Tyson Food, and we love either the product or the way that the company goes to market, it's a better investment. So that is when we sort of organize the industry in these 12 verticals. And our goal is to invest in food and beverage in 10 companies this year. In some other more mature vertical, like our insurance and our fintech, we invest in 20 to 25. And little bit, even though they are only 2 to 3 years old, we are right now operating at 10x return. And we are now offering our corporate partner to either join what we call a fintech fund, which is only a fund that invests in financial technology business, or insurtech fund, or we ask our corporate partner to participate in our umbrella fund, which is across all 12 verticals. But when Skylar said M&A, VC arm, or having incubator accelerators internally, if your journey is to have a VC arm of your own, we would love to have a discussion with you what we could do together. We could have, we have done this with a couple of German companies, that we have a couple of investment professionals, they have a couple of investment professionals. We usually participate 5% in the fund itself, but it's sort of, we feel a combination of knowledge of the corporation and our knowledge of investing in about 200 early stage companies per year makes the results better. But our main business in Plug and Play is investment. And I just sometimes forget to point that out. So again, thank you, and here comes the food companies that's gonna change our lives, hopefully.
Hello, everyone. Wow. So we're going to get ready for the show. I have to remind everyone that on the back of your badge, there are a few things that I would like you to do. One of them is please remember to vote. When you vote, we'll find out who the startup winner is at the end. We will close voting 10 minutes after the last startup pitches. So I need you to vote as you go on, or as you see the startups, just so we could make sure that is happening. Please remember that you can create meetings with the Brella app on the back, and the information on the startups is there as well. So I'm going to introduce each startup, and I'm going to give a fun fact, just so you know the fun facts aren't all true. If I did not like the fact, I did change it, but I didn't change all the facts. So first up is Greg from Nourish. So the Nourish team once ate over 100 breakfast sandwiches in one morning.
Thank you. My name is Greg, and I am one of the founders of Nourish Technology. At Nourish, we are building completely automated restaurants. Our robotic systems cook, package, and serve all different types of food and drinks. Our vision is to own and operate the world's largest restaurant chains, all run entirely by robots. We are building what McDonald's wishes it could be: super convenient, actually healthy, and incredibly delicious fast food. So why is this a problem worth solving? Well, it's really hard to make money in the restaurant industry. You have these high upfront capital costs, typically $1 to $2 million to open up a new location. You have intensive labor costs, usually 30% of your operating budget. And then because you don't use a lot of technology, you have all of these inherent inefficiencies, like food waste, which is usually 10 to 20% of your inventory. Now, all of these problems are only getting harder. Real estate's getting more expensive. The minimum wage is expected to nearly double labor cost. And with the rise of fast casuals like Chipotle and Sweetgreen, customer expectations of what fast food should be are only getting higher. We're solving these problems with a better restaurant business model, and it's focused on 4 key characteristics. 1, small footprints. Bring down your upfront capital costs and increase your ability to scale very, very quickly. 2, reduce labor through industrial automation and using a commissary model similar to Chipotle and Panera. 3, being technology-driven throughout the entire stack, having a digital relationship with your customer, and building out the world's first IoT kitchen. And 4, it's always delivering killer customer experiences, being more convenient, better tasting, and better for you. Now, we didn't just dream up this model, we built it. This is Bbox, our first automated concept. Bbox is a micro cafe that serves breakfast sandwiches, coffee beverages, baked goods, and juices. It's only 100 square feet, and it's essentially as if we took all of the most popular items at a Starbucks, made them better with higher quality ingredients, and put them inside of a Redbox machine. Building Bbox was an iterative process. We started by buying a couple griddles on Amazon and going to 10-person offices and just serving people breakfast. Over time, we grew from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100-person offices. And within 2 months, we were serving breakfast to 3,500 people at Uber and Twitter's Chicago headquarters. At our last pop-up, we had a customer retention rate of 39%. And customers kept coming back because we nailed the customer experience. 2-tap ordering, grab-and-go pickup, high-quality, tasty food. We call it just-in-time food service. Now, the pop-ups did more than just teach us about our customer. They helped inform what technology should we be building. We realized that the technology secret is not custom building hardware from scratch, but instead it's using off-the-shelf robot arms and building all of the software for them to operate commercial restaurant equipment. It's focusing on getting all of these different pieces to communicate with one another and then collecting all the data that they produce so you can run a more efficient and ultimately more profitable restaurant. With our lower upfront capital costs and faster time to deploy, we will be the fastest growing restaurant chain of all time. Now, in any startup recipe, the most important ingredient is the team. And we're lucky to have an incredible team that has built custom automation at places like Apple and Tesla that's built big data analytics platforms for billion-dollar IT companies, and that understands the challenges of the food service model from working inside the food service industry. At our lab in Berkeley, we are building the future of food. So please, come on out. We would love to serve you breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So next up is Diane from Brainify. She spends most of her free time watching panda cams.
Hey everyone, my name's Diane. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brainify. At Brainify, we are the leading time-driven AI engine for both predicting and acting on an individual's highly dynamic interests. We specifically specialize in timing across our engagement efforts that take into considerations the user behavior of each of your unique customers and combining that with external data like weather, events, and holidays in order to do spur-of-the-moment engagements that really have impact. So one of the things that we've realized is that localized weather and events have this huge impact, especially when it comes to increasing your monthly net sales, especially for food and beverage retailers, QSRs, and CPGs. So one example is that, as we all know, the hotter it gets, the more beer you buy. Well, in a city like Sacramento, this increase only occurs between 90 and 100 degrees, but in a city of San Francisco, it occurs between 60 and 75 degrees. But to go and find all these localized weather and events manually across the nation can be quite tough. But more importantly, to determine which of these external data points actually have impact on your unique business and actually automatically engaging at the individual level is pretty near impossible. So introducing Brainify and our predictive timing platform. Our time-driven AI engine sits on top of your existing marketing suites in order to determine who should get what promotions and content at his or her respective right moments. So think of us as both your data scientist that determines the predictions of when people should get what, but also your software engineer, since we integrate into your existing ecosystem, which means that setup can be just within a couple of hours. For all the food and beverage retailers and QSRs out there that have mobile apps, as you all know, engagement and retention is crucial if you want to increase your monthly net sales. Well, instead of creating one promotion that's sent out at the same pre-scheduled time, like 3 in the afternoon on Tuesday, to a segment of users like women in San Francisco, now you can leverage all sorts of promotions at various different moments, which will urge spur-of-the-moment purchases. And for CPGs, something that we've realized is SMS becomes a phenomenal channel to reach your loyal end users directly. You can utilize gamifications, information, or fun fact tidbits in order to engage your users and also drive loyalty to expand your CRMs with validated users. With our customers today, we've brought over 13% increase in their monthly net sales consistently. Our average SMS opt-in rate is a 72% with over 10x ROI immediately for every single one of our customers. So you as a brand gets to continue with all of the major events like Christmas, New Year's, Black Friday, and our engine really goes and optimizes for what we call the natural long-tail uptick events. These are events where there's 3 to 20% natural increase in sales, but too small for our accounting team to see. Our engine goes and optimizes for hundreds and thousands of these different events throughout the year, and this is where the value really starts adding up. In addition, we help understand and quantify the impact of temporal impact of your external data directly on your brand at the region, the city, the neighborhood, and the individual level. So if you're interested in learning more about Brainify and our time-driven AI engine, please come find me in the back, and I'll be sure to make some time for every single one of you.
So next up is Ed Rogers from Bonnemoose Biochem. Now, Ed is a professional fisherman. He's such a professional that in 2006, he created one of the top 50 lures of all time. And you can ask him about it afterwards. Please welcome up Ed.
So that's half true. I'm not going to tell you which half. Bonumose makes sugars which are good for you. So let that concept sink in. And we use a unique combination of enzymes that makes these sugars affordable. So we love sugar. Sugar is hurting us, and that's a problem. So I bring good news of rare sugars. The best examples are tagatose and allulose. So rare sugars are not fake. They are naturally occurring in tiny quantities in some plants. They're not weird tasting. They taste like regular sugar, no off flavors, no bitter notes, function in foods just as well as regular sugar, and they are approved for food use. They're expensive now, though. But the really good news is that rare sugars are healthy. So they do not increase blood sugar. In fact, they reduce blood sugar levels. They are low calorie, and they do not cause tooth decay, and they have other benefits. And so what rare sugars are, they're not just not bad for you, they're actually good for you. So they're not just benign, they're actually beneficial, which is a very interesting concept. The problem is that rare sugars currently are very expensive under current manufacturing processes. And so we're going to change that, and we're going to change it in a very disruptive way so that rare sugars are affordable for the mass market. And how do we do that? We do it through our unique enzymatic technology, which starts off with low-cost raw materials that are about 4 times less expensive than the current processes. We have a very efficient process that eliminates expensive separation steps. And we have extremely high yields, about 90%, so about 4 times higher than the standard processes. Now, this is a non-scientist depiction of how we do this. If we had more time, I'd explain it better. But what I do want to talk about is the raw material. We have flexibility. The starch can come from potato or corn, let's say, in the United States. Maybe in Japan, it's rice. Maybe in Thailand, it's cassava. So these are globally abundant commodities that we can turn into healthy ingredients. So our business model is that we intend to be the manufacturer, although the world's a big place, and so we expect that we will work with licensees in certain regions. This is primarily a B2B opportunity. If you make a food that is sweetened, a beverage that is sweetened, and you want to make it healthier with the same great taste and the same cost, rare sugars are the answer when we make them available. We also have a B2C strategy. If you look on the grocery store shelves at sugars, you'll see a big price gap between down here at the bottom or on the left side and up there on the right side between supposedly healthy sugars. We're going to be down there close near the cost of regular sugar. And this is very, very intentional because we don't think that good, healthy food should be available only to those with good, healthy incomes. So we have a good balance of business and technology in the team. And to wrap up, the name of our company sometimes gets mispronounced. Sometimes I can't even spell it correctly. But bonum means good in Latin. Os is the recognized suffix for sugars. And so we are good sugars. And this is good news to anybody who eats food.
Thank you. So next up is Zach from Igzoo Life. So when Zach was 7 years old, someone let him fly a real airplane.
That lead-in was intense. My dad's just a pilot. It's not that special. Thank you, guys. So I'm Zach, co-founder and CEO of Igzoo, maker of the world's first ever bottled bamboo leaf tea. My co-founder, Courtney, and myself have years of experience working in the organic food and beverage industry and saw firsthand the negative environmental impacts that producing food at scale has on the environment and the planet. So it's no secret. We all know that our established food system is broken, but it's also starving for innovation, and the consumer is looking for new products that meet this demand of their new benchmarks on the consumption and the food that they love. Our mission with Igzoo is very straightforward. We look to reinvent popular food and beverage products, but utilizing the world's most naturally resilient and sustainable crops as core ingredients, all to have a positive global impact. You can see this directly displayed in our debut product, where we take wild harvest Caribbean bamboo that's all USDA certified organic. Brew and steep the leaves much like you would a traditional green or black tea. And the result is a light, crisp, and refreshing beverage that everybody can enjoy. We check all the boxes that today's educated consumer is looking for. We also deliver some unique health benefits as well. Bamboo is naturally high in vegetative silica, which has been seen to be great for your hair, skin, and nails, connective tissues of the body, help rebuild collagen, and even detoxify as well. So why did we start here? Well, that's because people just get it. We wanted to start the conversation around making more sustainable foods. And the everyday consumer already knows the connection between sustainability and bamboo. When you walk through a retail aisle or any store, from t-shirts to toilet paper, if you see a product that's incorporating bamboo in some way, you already know that there's a sustainability piece to the production of that actual consumer product. We then paired this common knowledge of bamboo with the second most consumed beverage globally, which is tea, to deliver a first-to-market, ready-to-drink concept, to initiate trial and, again, really jumpstart the conversation of how do we make the foods you already know just more sustainably. We connect directly with today's ever-expanding, globally conscious consumer. Majority of this consumer base is younger, focused on their own wellness, but really driven by their global connectivity and global impact. And when a company or brand can seamlessly fuse these core values together, this consumer is galvanized to the relationship that you've established there. We drew heavily on our own experience. Again, Courtney and myself have years working in the organic food and beverage industry. We actually took Igzu from concept to shelf in under 9 months. Again, producing a first-to-market concept, which in today's crowded CPG world is almost unheard of. One of our proudest points of that entire process is setting up our own exclusive supply. We partner exclusively with a farm in Jamaica, where we've been able to foster economic growth in this developing country, and even create a use for the entire plant there. So they have another purpose for the stalks of bamboo, and we've been able to give life and purpose to the actual leaves themselves. So what's next for us? Well, we want to take this same mission and lens and apply that to other consumption applications. We have a ton in development and doing a ton of research on what are other crops that actually don't take as much out of the environment to give the same user experience on when it actually reaches the shelf. Like I said, it's just been Courtney and myself to date. We've been on shelves now for about 18 months. We've got retail partners between California and Texas, but we're quickly growing to the point where we really need to build out our team, launch those products that we know our consumer is looking for, and just expand Igzu's overall market penetration. Thank you again so much. I see some bottles out there that you guys are enjoying, but if anybody's interested in trying them, we've got chilled bottles for everybody to enjoy at our demo table in the cafeteria. Thank you guys so much.
So before I say the next fun fact, I do have to give you some information. So does everyone know Yuki? So Yuki is right there. So Yuki is the community manager of this vertical. She does make everything go round, and we really appreciate her. And for the next fun fact, Rob from Sensor Transport says, Yuki remembers him as the guy that keeps her ice cream from melting. So please help me welcome up Rob from Sensor Transport.
Hi, I'm Rob, and my company is Sensor Transport. 2 years ago, I started my first startup, a different company, and the idea was simple. I wanted to put an app on the truck driver's phone and create a logistics company around that to save money by tracking the driver in real time. And on that really amazing journey from idea to product, I got to meet with some of the world's best companies. And what they told me really surprised me. When I met with Unilever, they said, Rob, it's really great that you're saving us some money on the logistics moves, but our problem is actually in the back of the truck when the ice cream starts to melt. And then actually, if it doesn't melt all the way, it's even worse. If it refreezes and then has ice crystals and it gets delivered to the customer, that's the problem. And I said, wow, that's a big problem. And I met with Corning, and they said something that seems similar. They said, when we load our Gorilla Glass on the truck, we know it's perfect. But when it gets to the factory to be installed on the cell phone or the computer, and there's those hairline cracks on glass that we all hate. He was the customer calls us. They don't call the carrier. And I met with British American Tobacco, and they said, it's common for our cigarettes to get stolen during transport. It's actually common in the industry for everything to get stolen. But for British, their problem wasn't the loss of the goods, which was annoying. It was the fact that cigarettes would get mixed with lower quality cigarettes and then sold on the black market. All of these great brands are telling me the same thing, is that logistics failures have a high cost to the brand. And once I recognized that, I really saw it in the market. So Chipotle, another great brand, their problem with their outbreak is a logistics problem. Their cold chain failed, and as a result, it had an impact to their share price. So customers in this space, and food and beverage is important, but in many big brands are worried about what logistics failures means to them. So this is the problem I set out to solve. I started in the same place. I said I can track the driver. I can track any delivery driver that has a smartphone and anywhere in the world. So that's a good starting place. But then to solve the problem, I'm extending the capability of the mobile app by adding a standard off-the-shelf sensor. So the sensor detects temperature, so I can make sure the ice cream's not melting for Yuki. I can track shock motion to make sure the glass isn't breaking, and I can track light. It's very sensitive to light, so if the doors of the truck are opened during transit, then we can set off an alarm. You simply mount the sensor in the back of the truck with the goods, the driver downloads the app, and off you go. And there's a screenshot of our first live customer in Guadalajara who's moving berries. Our competitors are very hardware-based. Because we're highly focused on software, we can deploy quickly, which is important if you're hiring just-in-time drivers. All they have to do is download the app. The cost is fully focused on the data, so you only pay for the data that has value. There's no monthly subscription by device, and we can customize the app to meet your specific needs. I hope you guys stop by and see us. We're right out there, and we'll be happy to show you the whole system. Thank you.
So next up is Jerry from Agribody Technologies. Jerry has gone through all the classes to become a full-fledged sommelier. So if you have any questions about wine for him, he is your guy.
Hi, everybody. Well, that's not quite true. I'm not a sommelier. I'm an amateur in the French sense of the term. Okay, so Agribody. The reason that we founded Agribody was three things. First, increasing population, about 1.9 billion people more on the planet in the next 33 growing seasons. We have unpredictable weather, global climate change, growing middle class, wanting more meat. So it's putting enormous pressure on the agricultural production system. And in addition to that, we have the issue of technology, and there's a new technology called genome editing, which gets around a lot of the issues that have plagued GMOs. So the most important thing for farmers is yield. We need to get more crops out of the same land because we have less land and degrading land. And conventional approaches, even transgenic approaches, are not helping us that much. And in addition, during growing the crops, they're attacked by disease. They suffer from stress, abiotic stress, and about 40% of our crops are lost after harvest. So the big idea behind the founding of Agribody was our customers are not farmers, they're not people that shop at Whole Foods. This enormous pressure to deliver better yields. They're dissatisfied with current approaches. We have patented technology that increases yields at least 20% in almost every crop that's been tested, in addition to improving their stress tolerance. And we do this by making very small, unregulated deletions in a critical gene that's conserved among all plants, even among all animals. And this technology is beyond the lab and the greenhouse. It's been proven in field trials. And it also avoids GMO controversies. It involves this two-gene switch. As a scientist, it's difficult to show all my technology in a cartoon, but I only have a few seconds. So one gene works with the other. The cell is always looking at the ratio of the modified versus the unmodified protein. And so what my co-founder John Thompson showed was that if he reduced the amount of the decorating protein, or he increased the amount of the target of that protein, The results of pushing this switch in favor of continued growth is higher biomass, higher seed yields, enhanced tolerance to stress, and extended shelf life for products like tomatoes, bananas, flowers. And again, I said very good field trials. We've improved the yield of an elite line of alfalfa by 20 to 45%. Very strong IP surrounding this. We have a great team, very experienced team. I think I'll fess up and say the combined industry experience of the 8 of us is, I think, 225 years. So we've got almost a quarter of a millennium of experience. And the technology's been very favorably received by large and small companies. We've done deals in 4 crops on the bottom, licensed to Monsanto and Banana Company in Israel. Just 2 weeks ago, genome-edited alfalfa was shown to be unregulated. It's not GMO, it's not transgenic. And this reduces the risk. I'm driving around San Diego with this license plate, so this company has to succeed. And please join us. Thank you.
So please, everyone, remember to vote. I'm going to keep reminding you. So next up is Jessica from Pure Solutions. Jessica loves scouring around a Nordstrom rack looking for penny sales. That means that something sells for only 1 penny, and she goes to the cash register and pays with an actual penny. Please help me welcome up Jessica.
You know, we're scrappy as startups. So my name's Jessica Huang. I'm the CTO of Pure Solutions. So I want to start off today by having everyone look at this apple right here. Now I want you to imagine that first crisp, juicy bite. Next, I want you to think about how long ago you think this apple was picked off a tree. And I know I pitched this to some of you today, so no cheating. So it's actually anywhere from 10 to 14 months is the answer. Now, I want you all to think about that for a second. An apple sitting on your kitchen counter is bound to get mold or brown within a week or 2. So what's the magic secret sauce here? And the answer is chemicals everywhere. So let's take a look at the journey. An apple that even has been grown organically may go through a 10 to 14 month period in which it's transported, stored, and distributed with chemicals sprayed all along the way. Even at the grocery store, if you see the produce with the mists, that's not necessarily water. And the problem doesn't end there. If you look across, you have the dirty dozen, in which the produce all around the world is affected. Our solution is the world's strongest and most complete line of plant-based natural solutions that are entirely non-toxic, biodegradable, and food grade for post-harvest food value chains and the consumer packaged good market. We are a modern natural solutions company, utilizing ingredients with innate properties that deter and impact certain mechanisms within pests. Simultaneously, we believe that nature knows best and have created a product line with research-backed ingredients and products that combat this, as well as pesticide resistance. And speaking of resistance, as you see certain synthetic insecticides decline in effectiveness, you see that the biopesticide market has been growing, along with the industry as a whole. Pure Solutions is collapsing that trade-off between natural good-for-you solutions and solutions that work, merging these 2 worlds. Looking at our landscape, of course, you have other competitors focusing on the chemical side, but you also have newer companies such as Honest Company and Method that are stealing away some of their market share because they recognize the consumer's demand for natural. Looking at our product offering, we offer a line of insecticides and fungicides and herbicides as well that none of those competitors previously mentioned are going after. Our solutions are as effective as these synthetic competitors or more, and we're able to market certain safety claims as our product line is entirely food grade. Our team comes from backgrounds of venture capital, supply chain and agribusiness, business management, and research as well. And we are also working with a few corporate partners, including Coca-Cola and Intercontinental Hotel Group, to run pilots and eventually commercialize. So we're Pure Solutions, a modern natural solutions company. We believe that nature knows best, and as the saying goes, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but a few too many apples might just send you back. Thank you.
So next up is Charlie from Aegean Robotics. Now, Charlie, if he offers you a ride, you got to say no. And the reason is he's been in 3 car accidents where the car has actually flipped over. He has pictures to prove it. I haven't seen them yet. But if he offers you a ride, I would say no.
Hi, so we are Aegean Robotics, here today to talk with you guys about farm robots, my favorite topic. And before we begin, we'd like to just explain a little bit about how we think we're different. When we look out there at a lot of the robotics companies that are developing things today, many of them are focused on complete automation, so doing a task completely from A to Z. And when we think about it, we think there's actually a lot more opportunity on the lower end of the market, building robots that help people work more productively. So in pursuit of that opportunity, we put together a small team that has a background both selling and marketing machinery and developing robotics products. And we've put together this team to solve a problem. When we look out there on farms and in construction applications and in logistics-intensive businesses, there are many tasks where people are picking, packing, and lifting stuff up with their hands, placing it onto a cart, and then running that cart back and forth. And when we think about that task, we view the picking, the packing, and the lifting, the high dexterity part of the task, as the high value part, and the running around part to us is waste. So to solve that problem, we have developed something that we call Burrow. And Burrow is a small robotic cart that can follow you like a dog. So he actually, there's no leash, there's no beacon, there's no receiver. He's got an algorithm that recognizes a person. And as he follows you, he records the path that you've traveled, which he can then retrace back, so he can function as a virtual conveyor belt from where you might be picking fruit to where material is being collected off the field. And as we think about this product, I think some other things to keep in mind. Today, about half of our costs are sensors, so we're building a prototype for around $5K. We're aiming for about an $8,000 retail price, and we think that we can bring that cost down quite a bit over time. However, at that price point, we found a number of applications with paybacks in the year or 2 range. And as we look at the marketplace, we believe that this is north of $1 billion market. I think this is a lot of stuff that people don't typically look at. ATVs, hand carts, wheelbarrows. There's a lot of this stuff out there. If you get on any farm, it's some of the most ubiquitous tools that you see people using. And as we look at the competitive environment, we do see that some of our competition agrees with us. They view this as an attractive space. However, most of our competition is based in Europe, and they tend to be building things around higher cost hardware. So we think that we can beat them to market by moving more quickly. And on that note, in terms of traction, to date we are completely bootstrapped with about a $53,000 founder investment. We have used that investment to develop our prototype and our technology and to find 6 large companies that want to run pilots with us in the spring. And those companies include the largest blueberry grower in the world and a top 3 US table grape grower. So to run those pilots, we are looking to raise a $500,000 convertible note. That will be used to scale up our team, to refine our prototype, and actually get it out there in the field in a lot of these operations. And lastly, I do have financials. I think the important thing to keep in mind is that we're moving quickly with scale in mind. John Deere started with a plow, we're starting with a cart. So with that, we are AGR. Thank you very much for having us, and would love to chat. Thank you.
So next up, we have Steven from Innova Nutra. So Steven, in addition to being a scientist, is also a classicist. So I had to look that up. And it means he studies Roman and Greek culture. I think I'm right? So please help me welcome up Steven.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Young. I am the co-founder and the scientific advisor for Innova Nutra. So to get started today, I want to have a thought experiment and kind of a group interaction with the audience. So let's pretend you're going to the supermarket to buy a cereal for your children, or maybe your grandchildren, or maybe your nieces and nephews, or if you're like me and don't have children, maybe you're a child at heart, so you want to buy some cereal. Which of the following would you choose? So as a raise of hand, who would choose the one on the left? Okay. Not that many people. Interesting. Who would choose the cereal on the right? Awesome. Excellent. So, for your own information, the one on the left is colored artificially, but the one on the right, as most people have said they would like to pick, is naturally colored. And this is kind of corresponding to the voice of the consumer now, who are wanting natural ingredients, not artificial ingredients, in their food products. And they're using not only their words and actions, but their pocketbooks to press food industry to do so. However, the issue with natural colors and natural ingredients is their stability. They are very susceptible to light, heat, and often are needed to be refrigerated, as you can see here. Some of these natural ingredients also have a very unpleasant taste. They can be bitter, which most consumers, particularly children, do not like. And a lot of these natural ingredients may be used as nutraceuticals or compounds which have health-promoting benefits. However, if they break down before they even get to your plate or into your mouth, then there's no point in you even incorporating them into your food. So what do we do at Innova Nutra? We use or we produce stable formulations, stable and safe formulations for natural ingredients. And we use these natural ingredients in our stabilized forms in food, beverage. We also use it for personal care and cosmetics and for plant and animal feed. So a wide variety of applications that this technology can be used in. Okay. So what does our technology do? Our technology is rather simple. So we have a panel of carriers which we will select from, and we will incorporate your natural ingredient, and we'll select the best carrier for your application and for your product. And as you can see on the left, we have a red natural colorant that has been exposed to light and ambient temperatures and conditions for 2 months, and it's lost its nice red color. It's become more of an orange or a pink hue. However, in our stabilized form, it is able to be stabilized with a nice color for up to 2 months and more. And here's another quick example of our stabilized colorant. So you see on the left that this has no color added. If you add the natural ingredient itself into their base, it changes almost immediately to a pale black or a purple color. However, with our formulation, it's stable. Okay. So what is our value? What do we provide to the consumers, and what do we provide to the customer? We provide shelf life enhancement without preservatives. So we're able to stabilize all of these natural ingredients for 50% more or higher than other competitions without use of preservatives. We also have the ability to mask these bitter flavors and negative perceptions that consumers might find unappealing in their food. And we're also able to stabilize these compounds in the gastric tract, in the stomach, where they are usually very readily broken down. And so we're able to deliver these compounds into your intestines where they'll be able to be digested and absorbed by your body. Cool. So this is a quick summary of what Innova Nutra can do. We tailor compositions for specific needs. We can use soluble, water-soluble, and oil-soluble compounds. We do not use chemicals or genetic modifications, so there's a clean label for our ingredients. Nor do we use synthetic additives, nor do we use preservatives, and we're very cost-effective compared to the common current methods for encapsulation protection. So as a quick overview of our milestones, we started in 2013 in the university space as just an idea. We then decided to found the company, incorporated them to translate this idea into market. And now we're at the NSF SBIR phase, where we have $750,000. So our strategy and where we are now is looking for customers and potential clients to use our products and their formulations to see the improved stability that they have and the improved consumer acceptance that they have with our formulations. All right, and this is our team, and I will thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Arsalan from Wizran. So he once slept on a farm for 7 months, which for city folk, that is a long time.
Hi everyone, this is Arslan, founder and CEO of Vizran. So we are an ag tech startup. We are using sensors, SaaS, and data science to inform farmers on when, where, and why are they losing money on logistics inefficiencies. And we tell them in real time while they are out performing various farming operations. So here's a quick scenario. You have a 320 acres cornfield. You know the revenue. You know your gross profits. You know your cost of inputs. What you don't know is the operating cost of running equipment, machinery, labor, and gas, because it's highly variable and time dependent. And that's where we help our customers with to maximize net profits. Recently, during a deployment in the Midwest, we found that if we can cut down 30 minutes operating time at each field, for a guy who has 10,000 acres, 100 field, they were able to save $200,000, which they weren't able to realize before that. So the state of the industry is that a farmer today, a large farmer, cannot tell you when or how frequently the activity is taking longer than the usual time to complete. A farmer told me that it takes him three minutes per minute is the cost of the combine or the harvester. And if it sits every minute, he's wasting money. But he has no way to figure out when and how often those equipments are sitting idle. So that's what we are changing. We are autonomously identifying those invisible, hidden logistics inefficiencies for farmers so that they can react in real time to manage that variability to minimize his profit leakages. The solution is a real-time based dashboard, single view, where we not only show all the equipments on one single place, but the system autonomously measures, records, and identify those activity slacks that exist but are currently invisible. How it works, you outfit these sensor-equipped tablets on any equipment, and then using the AI and machine learning code, the system takes over. And without requiring any interaction by the operator, the systems start identifying what activities are taking place, how long is it taking, and where the slack is, so that a grower can react quickly to minimize his losses. Durden Farms, 100 fields, 10,000 acres, they were able to identify $200,000 in additional profit. They were able to cut down 8.5 days from their operations, which allowed them to pick up additional 2,000 acres without adding any extra equipment, labor, and gas. Our beachhead market is corn and soya, which is about $100 million for us. The total addressable market is $1.5 billion for us. The product the beta version that we released is very well suited to be used as a metering and billing platform for autonomous equipments and vehicles, which are not mainstream today, but we already have started bringing some use cases for that. We have a team with a background in business, technology, agriculture. Myself left my corporate career with IBM, Accenture, and EY after 16 years. My co-founder, he's actually my first customer, Justin. He's a multi-generation grower who later became the co-founder of the team. Arslan and Andrew are part-time, currently both going to Stanford. So essentially, what we are showing you, or the farmers, is where they are losing money in real time so that they can do something about it. We are looking for strategic partners, and we are going to be raising seed round in March, but I'd like to meet investors right now so that we can close the seed round in about March time. Thank you very much.
So next up is Raed with Shuf. Shuf in Arabic means to watch. In Hebrew, it means owl. And Shuf is a small contribution to world peace. Please help me in welcoming up Raed.
Hi everyone, my name is Raed, the CEO of Shuf Technologies. So today you've heard quite a bit about innovative, very exciting food and food material. Hopefully next you will bring some into your processing facility. After you bring them into your processing facility, you have equipments, you have containers, you have machines that you want to track and you want to monitor. And this is where we come in, Shoof Technologies. We say that right now, about $1 trillion in industrial IoT that is a market that is not covered by any of the wireless technology that exists. If you're currently using a tracking and monitoring into your facility, you know that they all suck. Really bad. Don't blame the company that you brought in. It's the wireless connectivity. It's not the company that you brought in. Reason being, none of the existing wireless connectivity was ever meant for this type of application. So what we've done, we've created our own wireless connectivity specifically for this type of environment where you need scale, where you need no maintenance, and where you can locate things at very large range in your manufacturing. So the way we do it with our technology, we take one of our tags, and we put the tag on any asset. This asset could be the truck, it could be the machine, it could be the container. Now this asset is smart and connected for 10 years. Total 10 years, sending you real-time data, ongoing 24/7 for 10 years. We take the tags and we aggregate the data through our base station. Each base station can handle up to 100,000 tags. And I don't think your facility is 25 kilometers or 2 kilometers big, but the range between the base station and the tag is 25-kilometer line of sight, 2 kilometers non-line of sight. That means there's a wall or two in between them. The batteries inside the tag last up to 10 years. So again, up to 10 years connected and smart. The tags talk to each other and they're collaborative and they're GPS free. We do location with no GPS. So it's the only single technology that could do indoor and outdoor tracking without having to interrupt or drain out the battery like the GPS does. We have end-to-end security. From asset to cloud, we do both encryption and signature verification. And our network is an open architecture network. That means any asset that is powered by Shoof can backhaul through any base station that they are within range. This is a way where we're collaborating between all of the different companies out there. The engineering founding team were the original creators of the smart grid standards. They have deployed over 30 million smart wireless meters worldwide through their work at Silver Spring, and now they're moving on to, after 12 years, moving on to start at Shoof for assets in motion rather than fixed assets. Our mission is to become the source of data for all industrial IoT and logistics companies in the world and monetize the data with recurring monthly revenue. Our vision is today you walk into a cafe, you walk into a restaurant, you walk into Starbucks, and the first thing you ask, do you have Wi-Fi? 10 years from now, you'll walk into a port, into an airport, into a processing plant, into an industrial factory, and the first thing you say, do you have Shoof? Do you have some data that you need to backhaul? We are located here downstairs. We're looking for some more superstar engineers, as well as we are looking for on the, where was my, well, basically just engineers right now is what we're looking for, and trials, and trial partners. We're pretty booked on all the partners right now through January, February of next year on all our trials. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next up is Stefan from Shelf Engine. Stefan doesn't like to talk about it, but he once was in a skydiving accident. Please help me with the welcoming of Stefan.
Thanks, man. Happy to talk about it, but today I'll talk about another story. It's not as riveting, so you can talk to me afterwards. So let's start actually 8 years ago when I started my first company. So I started a food company, and you're probably wondering, like, why? But it actually started going really well. we grew pretty quickly, started making tens of thousands of meals a week, and we got to work with some pretty amazing retailers. You can actually see our product right here featured on Amazon Go and tons of other retailers. And so learned a lot what was going on, but we were a very small player in this giant marketplace, but we were suffering from a problem that a lot of people in the marketplace suffered from. I named this guy Gerald, and Gerald has basically all the Geralds of the food marketplace get to control that $2 trillion, right? And he's managing shelves like these. And the way that he manages those shelves is he orders from the baker, from the producer who delivers. And this is this invisible marketplace, which is a bunch of relationships. He says, okay, I'm just gonna order this amount. Now, he has a really important question. How much should I stock? Now, the thing that's happening with the Geralds of the world is they have this problem. How do they actually know that they're ordering the ideal amount? How do they know they're not over-ordering and overstocking or under-ordering and then missing out on sales? So went out, built some pretty cool AI to make sure that ordering always happened in the ideal order. Then I implemented in my own company, really increased our margin. So then I started asking the question of, okay, how much money are other retailers leaving on the table? What if I could go out there and give them this AI and make a massive transformation? It was actually the wrong question. It was the wrong question because they didn't want to just eliminate their spreadsheets and have a new piece of software managed for them. They want to eliminate everything: technology, management, controls, job expertise, and most importantly, risk. So came up with a new platform, a platform where we actually take the risk for the product. We go to the retailer and say, we'll order for you. Anything that doesn't sell, we'll buy it back from you. Now, we do this by taking the data, running it through our prediction engine, creating an ideal order, and continuing that process. Now, you're looking at me probably like, okay, this guy's kind of crazy. How do we actually make money? This is what a retailer looks like for their gross profit, right? Some sort of question mark between that, what they actually pay and some waste, and then they make that difference. We're actually able to make a margin and eliminate waste completely for the retailer and actually increase sales at the same time. Now, obviously, in the US, we have a massive food market. It's continuing to grow, and shelf lives are getting shorter and shorter. This is what our active marketplace looks like right now. We're onboarding retailers and vendors every month. But at the end of the day, if I can just close on this last point, finally, the food market is getting closer to being an actual efficient market. The one main barrier is that before, we couldn't really aggregate the risk. And now we can, which means we can actually make arbitrage in this marketplace. And we can take the burden off Gerald. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next startup couldn't make it. That is Soma Bar. They canceled last minute. The startup after that is Jeff from Byte. Jeff used to design toys for Mattel and Disney, specifically princess dolls. Please help me with welcoming up Jeff.
Hey everyone, my name is Jeff, and I'm thrilled to introduce Byte to you. But first, about the princess dolls, I don't know how I got stuck in that job. It just happened that way. I'm sure all entrepreneurs say the same thing. But at Byte, we are all about enabling personalization in retail. So if we go look at the core problems or challenges that the industry is facing today, well, what are we seeing? Well, flat growth in the industry, great. Labor is a significant part of an ongoing restaurant's ongoing cost. And unfortunately, as Nourish said earlier today, hey, that cost is increasing. And the trend is very, very clear. Everyone's looking at ways to reduce or eliminate labor. So what do? How are we involved in all of this? We're an intelligent self-ordering kiosk. Well, specifically, I'll get to the intelligent part in a bit, but we allow retailers and operators to hit two very important targets. The first is labor saving. The second is make more money. Who doesn't like both of them? Now, I know we're not the first kiosk company out there. I mean, McDonald's is doing that, and they spent a boatload of money to outfit each of their stores. Panera did it even earlier than them, and even Shake Shack is going around doing it now. So this trend is just starting, and we're at the tip of the iceberg for this entire market. So what's so special about Byte? Well, aside from Starwipe, me, and designing toys, which has nothing to do with this, we focus on the thing that you guys care about when you start a food business, and that is better service for all of your guests. And how do we use technology to provide better service? Well, we do it through facial recognition. We identify who the guest is, whether they've been there before, how often they come back. We pair it with our own learning algorithm. So everything that Amazon does online, we do in store. And this will give your marketing team and your CMO something to really salivate about. We uncover a whole new data set on each guest that ventures into your store. Imagine the possibilities of influencing decisions before they actually purchase something. So we're not asking you to change anything of what you're doing already. We integrate with the POS systems that you guys use. We integrate with your processors that you guys use. You guys have a great rate. We're not going to change it. But we will let you keep your bank by using us to scale out. We're very inexpensive. And best of all, we're not available in 2 years. We're available today. So if you want to join some great company who's already working with us and kind of read a bit of the press, such as the NRA or Fortune, we'd love to get in touch. Oh, NRA is restaurants, not rifles. That's very confusing sometimes. And yeah, I'd love to get in touch with you if you're interested in seeing how we can deliver better service together. Please visit me at my booth afterwards. Thank you so much.
So next up is Alberto from Biomakers. I know Alberto has a kick-ass team because he met his co-founder in judo classes when he was in the 3rd grade. So please help me welcome up Alberto.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I am Alberto Acedo. I'm co-founder and CSO of Biomakers, a smart microbial discovery startup. We develop bioproducts based in microbes for a more sustainable and productive agriculture. In 2016, after graduation of the Illumina Accelerator program, we raised our seed round with 2.2 million. And with that, we start our activity. Well, farmers, the main goal for farmers is increase the yield and the quality of the production. They spend $40 billion per year in USA in nutrition complements and chemical sprays. But look at the data, 40% of the crop is wasted. Looks like all the products that they buy no is active. And for it, we know that here there are a huge opportunity. For it, we develop bioproduct based in soil microbiome identification and intelligent computing. We are leading the precision medicine for plants. Okay, WineSeek is our first product. WineSeek is a microbiome diagnostic tool to improve the vineyard management and wine production. With WineSeek, what is WineSeek? It's very easy to understand. It's a microbiome soil test using real soil, and we can identify all microorganisms in the soil. We can create index, and with this index, we can provide actionable information. Okay, this year, in the last 6 months, we obtained $3K dollars of revenues with this first product, and we try to obtain, or we calculate that we obtain 1.5 million the next year. How it works? It works because with all the data we collect with the service, we are creating the first layer of information, of microbiome information in soil vineyards. Look at the data, 3,000 samples in our database from 600 users in 18 different countries. We combine all of data with an intelligent computing machine that we named Veritas to drive microbial discovery projects. With that data, we develop, or we have in pre-market stage 3 different products. For example, a bioproduct against fungal disease, but other product to a bioactive product to restore burned soil after fire. All of this is possible thanks to our Rockstar team, 20 people with a 3 years old average and 40% PhD with different skills, microbiologists, geneticists, and sales and communication too. We are near to close our Series A round with 6 million. With that round, we can scale the same business model to other crops and put the product we are developing in the market. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So please, everyone, remember to at least look at the voting app. After the last startup, we only have like 3-4 minutes to do all the votes, or else your vote doesn't count. So please get ready. So next up is Brandon from Retention Logic. Brandon will take money to consult you on your fantasy football league. Please help me in welcoming up Brandon.
My team is 5-1. He's serious about that, I'll say. So as he said, my name is Brandon. I am from Retention Logic, and we leverage machine learning to build smart loyalty programs that drive revenue. So the first thing I want to do before I jump into what we do, what makes us special in our technology, is kind of shoot the elephant in the room here. Loyalty is nothing new. Probably every company in this room, every brand logo down here has had or currently has some form of a loyalty program. So we're not reinventing the wheel here. The truth of the matter is that loyalty as a vertical, loyalty as an industry is failing. It's failing because it's not actually doing what the purpose of loyalty is supposed to do, which, believe it or not, is to create a sense of true loyalty in the fabric of the consumer, where the consumer actually feels a sense of loyalty to the brand. So digging into the numbers and the research, there's a couple core reasons why this is happening. Actually, nothing larger than the fact that programs are actually lacking the capacity to personalize. So when you lose relevance, you lose customers. So much so that 50% of millennials and 40% of the general population have actually said that they've stopped using a loyalty program after receiving irrelevant communication and reward offers. So that's what we attack very specifically, because there's still a massive potential in loyalty if it's done right. So think of us more as a technology company but built for the loyalty industry, right? A technology that enables brands to be smart about loyalty, to have technologies that are sophisticated enough to learn about the variances in behaviors and differences between consumers and can actually adjust in real time each individual loyalty program to fit every person based on the differences of those behaviors. So I have a loyalty program as a consumer with a brand that is very much tailored and personalized to me to get the behaviors out of me that that brand wants to drive. So it enables us to do things like work with companies like Toys R Us and actually exceed their goals on loyalty engagement by 25 times in just 3 weeks. Or great companies like Coca-Cola, where we literally built an entire loyalty program for them from scratch in 90 days that led to a 314% increase in social engagement and a 17% jump in weekly repeat buyers. So we thought it would be an interesting program internally as a project to take one brand, one set of audiences, and break them up into 2 cohorts. Cohort A got our loyalty program, our intelligent loyalty, and cohort B got the standard linear program. Things like average cart size, email open rate, social engagement, 30-day retention. We had double to triple-digit increases in ours right out of the gate. So what's so exciting about our technology, it's not something that takes a year before you start seeing results. You start seeing results right away. So thank you guys for listening to the high level of what we do at Retention Logic. We're actually not here looking for investment. We raised a $7.5 million seed round. What we are looking for is an innovative set of partners for our Batch 2 pilot program. 2 to 3 spots left we have in it. And if that's interesting for you guys and you want to be on the cutting edge of loyalty technology and user retention technologies, we'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Dr. Deepak from Chowbotics. Deepak has over 100 patents to his name. Some of these patents everyone in the room uses every day, and over a dozen of them are in the iPhone.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. We build robots which make food automatically. I started the company around 3 years back when I got tired of making my food at home. The first robot I built made Indian food. That's the kind of food my wife and I eat at home. And I had this robot which could automatically make my South Indian curries for me. I used to push a few buttons, go and watch TV. Didn't make my wife very happy, but it was great. It was great tasting food. So I was going around showing off this robot to a bunch of people. And I met this guy who owned 15 McDonald's stores. And he said, instead of building an Indian food robot for your home, why don't you make a salad-making robot for my restaurant? Because he felt that would help his stores quite dramatically. And he invested his own money in us, and that's how we started getting into salad-making robots, which is our first product. So our team, besides me, we have Rich Page, who built the first Macs at Apple. He was Apple Fellow in the 80s. When Steve Jobs left Apple to start Next, Rich was his co-founder and VP engineering. He performs a role similar to what Eric Schmidt did at Google. I hadn't started a company before, and I'd never fundraised before, and Rich helped me a lot in the early days. And we have Charlie Ayers, who set up the food program at Google. He's one of the top celebrity chefs here in the US. He is super excited about robots, and he is on our team as well. We have Dorothy Kudia, who's our VP engineering. She was VP of automation at Middleby, which is the biggest food equipment company in the world, 8 billion in market cap. She came to me 6 months back and said, hey, we want to acquire you. And I said, we want to hire you. And you know who won. She came, joined us. And we have Slayton as well. And we have a team in China which handles our manufacturing. We've raised around 8 million in total. So far, it's from Foundry Group and Techstars Ventures, and every funding round of ours has been oversubscribed. So back when I first started the company in 2014, a lot of people thought I was just having fun building something just like that. But after that, they increased the minimum wage from $9 to $15. And after that, we became everyone's favorite company. And a lot of other people started companies looking at robots as well after that. We have some of the basic IP in the space. Our food platform can be used for many, many types of applications. And we've got, I believe, the best brand as well. We've been recognized as a top company in that space by CB Insights. We were on the New York Times 2 weeks back. Fast Company this week came out with a new edition talking about robots being one of the top 10 innovations for restaurants in the past 100 years, along with McDonald's and the drive-thru, and they listed Chowbotics over there. So let me show you our first product, that's Sally. That's the robot. That's a standard convenience store salad. We're working with 5 of the top 10 convenience store chains in the world. You load up these canisters with fresh seasonal ingredients. And then you put them in the robot. It's all refrigerated. And you can choose more than 1,000 salads. You can customize your salads the way you want. If you want low calories because you want to lose weight before your wedding, this is perfect. And the robot automatically makes a salad for you. It's all near perfect portion control because it measures the weight before it dispenses as well. So in terms of how this helps a food service establishment, it's all customizable. We're doing one pilot right now at Sodexo, where they used to have box salads, and we found out they sell 3 times more salads once you have Sally, because it's all customizable, and millennials love customizable food. And you get more than 100 salads on a restaurant's menu. Typically, if you go to a fast food restaurant today, you got 3 or 4 types of salads. But if you've got a lot more options, that's better. It's much more hygienic than a salad bar where you've got hundreds of people, often with dirty hands, touch the spoons and the food. Here, the end customer doesn't touch the food at all. You get food 24/7. We did a pilot at Uber, and they decided to buy machines after that. And they loved it because they don't have dinner service right now. And a lot of the engineers go home at 6 o'clock because they don't have dinner. And so with Sally, they think the engineers would work 2 hours more or something. And the ROI is pretty compelling there. And even in convenience stores, they love that. They love the 24/7 service. You have near perfect portion control. And this is one thing restaurant owners like. The average attrition in a fast food restaurant is more than 130% today. So if you got 10 people in a McDonald's, you have 13 resignations a year. And I like saying Sally doesn't quit her job and go anywhere else, and the restaurant owners love it. And you have a significant labor cost reduction as well. So we've done deployments. We did a pilot at Compass Group. They decided to buy it. They decided to buy the machine. We're working with Sodexo as well. And these are some of the top office cafeteria players in the country. We're working with 5 of the top 10 C-store chains, convenience store chains, because convenience stores are losing tobacco revenue in a big way. And robots like Sally are available 24/7. They need very little labor, and they provide fresh food. And we think of this as just a food platform, because if you think about it, you can use the same platform to do many other things, like yogurts, breakfast, cocktails, soups even. So pretty exciting, I believe. Thank you.
So last but not least is Alan from Miraculex. So please, everyone, remember to vote. We will close votes in the next 10 minutes. So please remember to start looking and voting. So Alan, his fun fact that he chose was that everyone can get samples of his product. Now, if anyone knows Alan, they know that he's the guy with the cooler. He has always had a cooler. I've never seen him without a branded cooler with him. So that's how we know Alan. One time he was giving samples in our cafeteria, which scared our chef to death because he was giving, what we thought unregulated samples in our cafeteria. But I told him it's just one of our startups. So please help me in welcoming up Alan.
Hi everyone, my name is Alan. I'm CEO of Miraculex, and before I start, I actually have a secret to tell all of you. I'm an addict, and unfortunately, so are all of you, as well as Homer. We are all born addicted to sweet products. We love them and we crave them almost every single day. Unfortunately, they don't like us. Many consumers, many different groups are seeing sugar as the new cigarette. It's something that people definitely want to get away from and looking for better alternatives to what exists. This sweetened product market is worth over $87 billion a year and is growing rapidly. What we see as the solution to sort of this big problem are these new classes of sweeteners. These are called protein sweeteners. They come from ultra-rare exotic fruits that we've actually developed cutting-edge technology to mass produce these proteins. And not only are they newer, they taste better than sugar and much healthier than any sweetener that currently exists. Don't ask me, ask the many thousands of people that we've actually demoed with and tried.
Wow. Easy to it. Really easy to eat it. Wow. Jesus Christ. Wow. Are you serious? Yeah, it's like candy. That was really cool.
So what we're doing is not only creating something that tastes better, but actually could provide a real experience compared with almost any other ingredient. Something new, something unexpected, and something amazing. So these protein sweeteners are much larger than traditional sweeteners. And because they're much larger, they actually fit exactly within human taste buds, and only human taste buds. What that means is we think that these sweeteners actually co-evolved with human taste buds. So not only do they provide this amazing experience, they are intensely powerful. Whereas 1 gram equals over 20,000 grams, over 20 kilos of sugar on a gram-by-gram basis. What we are doing is we are producing them both naturally and recombinantly for different sectors of the market, for people who want a real amazing natural sweet taste. We're focusing right now on the medical market for chemotherapy patients, diabetics, pregnant women, as well as scaling for food products as well. We currently have great traction with some of the largest food companies in the world, as well as we have so many requests, we can't really even fill the really large requests today. Even for the B2C, we get requests almost every day from hundreds of people looking for our products, and we are racing desperately to scale and fulfill our orders. Our team is made up of plant scientists, protein engineers, who worked on the largest companies today to scale products. And we are looking to create a future where you could finally have your cake and eat it too. Thank you.
So please everyone vote. I'll give you a few more minutes by inviting Omer up here to announce the startup for new materials and packaging. After this, we will have the startups with their booths outside, as well as a little bit of networking going on outside. And come see one of the startups with questions, or us from Plug and Play as well. Omer?
Thank you, Sina. So based on your votes, the winner of batch number 4 in new materials and packaging is Pulpworks. Paulo and Elena. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Elena. Yes. A few words, and then we'll take some pictures together.
Yeah, it would have to be a few words. The whole presentation was only 3 minutes. So.
we'll give you another 3.
No, this is great. We've enjoyed today immensely, and we've enjoyed our time at Plug and Play immensely. And we were a little geographically challenged to show up here every day, like so many of the other startups did. But thanks to our community manager, Lauren, we always felt like we were here. We felt like we didn't miss out on anything. So big thanks to Lauren, wherever she is, back there blushing. Yes. So I hope everyone else's experience was similar to ours. Thank you.
Congratulations, Paul and Elena, and Pulpworks for winning our batch number 4. And I would like to also take a moment to show gratitude to all of the Plug and Play team who made this expo possible, especially the new materials team. Lauren is back there again. I'm just going to make her blush one more time. So thank you, Lauren, and thank you to the rest of the ventures team who does technology scouting for us. It's a continuous process. It never stops. And please tell us your feedback. We're here to improve the program, and we're never going to stop improving. So thank you very much again. I'll just pass it to Sina.
Thank you. So the winner of the food program is Bonamousse. Okay. All right. Congratulations. Do you want to say a few words?
Yeah. Thank you. What I wanted to say is that the program has been fantastic for us. I've really been pleasantly surprised, very pleasantly surprised. I had no idea what Plug and Play was, no offense. I'm from the East Coast. We don't know anything over there. But Tulsi approached me at a conference in May, and she was very entrepreneurial, chased me down, told me about the program. It sounded too good to be true. I'm still not sure what the catch is, so I got an eye on you. And then Yuki has been fantastic, and then we've met outstanding companies through here. We are expecting to close a strategic investment in the next 2 weeks with a fantastic company, happened in Lightspeed. So just extremely pleased. I would recommend this to anybody. Thank you.
Was it from Lightspeed? No. Was it from Lightspeed? So thank you everyone for coming. We now have drinks and food outside. I hope it's ready by now, yeah? Thank you very much.